Well, it's 5 minutes after 11 o'clock, and this is Jams. I'm going to be sitting in for Socrates on today's edition of Voices. And of course, the first half is brought to you by TDC Flow and Rams, who you heard from. And just reminding our listeners that tomorrow morning, if you're civic-minded and intellectually curious, you might want to check out the St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association's panel discussion. That's happening tomorrow morning from 10 o'clock. That was postponed from last week. We were unable to hold it last week due to a press conference over on last week. The panel discussion was supposed to directly follow that press conference, which ended up going longer than anticipated. So it's happening tomorrow here on WinFM from 10 o'clock. And it's going to feature Justice Ian Marley, the DPP, Adlai Smith, and the moderator Denise Allen, attorney at law. And one of the things that they're appealing for is questions. You can send your questions to sknlawweek@gmail.com. sknlawweek@gmail.com. So that's sknlawweek@gmail.com. And you can send your questions and comments, and they'll tackle them during the latter half of the broadcast. So join us tomorrow, winmediaskn.com, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and of course Win FM 98.9. So as far as things that happened this week, we had the Nevis budget that took place this week. At some point, I'm going to be playing you an excerpt featuring Premier Mark Brantley, and we're going to be touching on some other things as well. And of course, anything you want to discuss, you can give me a call to get the ball rolling. 466-0989, 662-0989. And also, for those of you who maybe can't make a call, you might be at work, you probably can't make a call because maybe the boss will look unkindly on that. You can send me your comments or questions in the chat, in the Facebook chat, the YouTube chat, the Twitch chat. Yeah, so okay, so we're gonna get into it. I think I'm getting some news here now about a clip to get things started, so just give me one quick word there. I'll play this again for you guys in case you missed it.
The St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association presents The Sentencing Guidelines, a radio panel discussion featuring presenters Justice Ian Marley, resident judge for St. Kitts Criminal Circuit, and St. Kitts Nevis Director of Public Prosecutions Adlai Smith, with moderator Denise Allen, attorney at law. Join the jurists and WinFM, winmediaskn.com on Thursday, December 5 at 10 a.m. You have questions? Email in advance to sknlawweek@gmail.com. Learn all about the sentencing guidelines with the Bar Association on WinFM.
So let's get the ball rolling. 9 minutes after 11 o'clock. As promised, I have an excerpt from Mark's budget address, Mark Brantley. I'm going to bring that to you. Here it comes.
During a parliamentary session on December 3rd, 2024, the Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley, presented the proposed budget for the Nevis Island Administration, NIA, for the fiscal year 2025, amounting to $273.17 million.
Madam President, as we turn to our fiscal projections, The budget for the upcoming fiscal year is set at $273.17 million, a minor reduction of 3% when compared to the budget of $282.7 million, which was set for fiscal year 2024. We have allocated the amount of $203.8 million to recurrent spending, representing 75% of the total budgeted expenditure.
In light of anticipated positive economic activity in the coming year, the government projects a revenue collection of approximately $164.7 million, yielding a modest 6% increase from the $154.8 million revenue estimated for fiscal year 2024. Notably, the budget also includes at least $66 million expected from the federal government's Citizenship by Investment program, bringing total recurrent revenue projections to $230.7 million, which results in a surplus of $26.9 million against projected recurrent expenditure. The Premier outlined the planned capital expenditure for the year amounting to $69.4 million, a 6% decrease from the $74.2 million allocated in the previous year. This reduction arises from a targeted strategy to streamline capital expenditures and focus on projects with readily identifiable funding. As detailed in the financial summary, this capital budget will primarily be funded through low-cost loans and grant funding from regional and international partners. The revenue sources projected to support the NIA's 2025 expenditure program are as follows. Current revenue of $164.7 million, projected revenues from CBI passport processing fees at $66 million, concessionary loans of $11.7 million, and grant funding of $3 million. Premier Brantley emphasized that while these are projections, actual spending will depend on accessible funding, adhering to the administration's debt management strategy. Premier Brantley acknowledged the economic challenges during the fiscal year 2024, including high inflation, sustainability concerns surrounding the CBI program, and rising public debt.
Despite these potential downside risks to the island's economic growth, our approach was to direct our efforts towards building upon the gains we have achieved over the years. Our various initiatives to spur growth and employment were designed to ensure the continued improvement in the standard of living of our people. Madam President, as outlined earlier, the tourism sector has seen robust growth in 2024.
Despite these issues, he affirmed that the government's initiatives to foster growth and employment have yielded positive outcomes. The tourism sector in particular has rebounded, with a reported increase in revenue from the 2% tourism development levy. As of late October, $3.1 million was generated from this levy, nearing the previous year's total. The Premier expressed confidence in the island's economic growth, highlighting job creation through expanding small and medium enterprises and improved tax revenues. Brantley underscored the government's commitment to sustainable practices, debt management, and economic inclusivity, reiterating collaboration between the public sector, private enterprises, and community stakeholders to secure a prosperous future for Nevis and its residents.
And that's Kevon Brown. Thank you, Kevon. That was that story covering the budget address by Nevis Premier Mark Brantley. And I think I'm also going to replay Dwyer Astafan's commentary, which they usually come out on Wednesdays, and I'm hoping that will be grist for the discussion mill. So I'm going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors. It's 11:14. So we're going to take a quick break. We hear from our sponsors, and we come back and let you hear what Dwyer has to say.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
From the time that you taste it, man, you know that it's greatness. Some ice in your cup, tell your friends link up. You know that we liming. Signal the bartender. No, we don't need chaser. But if you want, it could mix with anything. We drinking Stones ginger wine, the original ginger wine. We drinking a like I say. Stones ginger wine. Greatness is forever.
Get ready to unwrap the savings this holiday season at TDC Home and Building Depot. This Friday, December 6th and Saturday, December 7th, enjoy 2 days of incredible holiday deals with savings of up to 30% store-wide. From home essentials to building supplies, find everything you need to make this season merry and bright. Hurry in and unwrap the joy. It's happening for 2 days only at TDC Home and Building Depot. TDC Home and Building Depot, where your holiday savings begin. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details. TDC. Together we succeed.
Tis the season of Christmas. We feeling festive for sure. So you get 2 free smartphones when you sign up for a family postpaid plan with Flow. Choose a family essential plan and get 30 gigabytes of data. The family plus plan and get 45 gigabytes of data. Or the family max plan and get a whopping 60 gigabytes of data. With any family plan, you get 2 Samsung smartphones free. Get it all this Christmas at Flow. Sign up in store or online today at discoverflow.co.
The St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association presents The Sentencing Guidelines, a radio panel discussion featuring presenters Justice Ian Marley, resident judge for St. Kitts Criminal Circuit, and St. Kitts Nevis Director of Public Prosecutions Adlai Smith, with moderator Denise Aline, attorney at law. Join the jurists and WinFM, WinMediaSKN.com on Thursday, December 5 at 10 a.m. You have questions? Email in advance to sknlawweek@gmail.com. Learn all about the sentencing guidelines with the Bar Association on WinFM.
And we are back, and I promised you Dwyer Asafan's commentary for this week. That usually debuts. It's for Wednesday, usually debuts on Tuesday. So here it comes. Dwyer Asafan's brand new commentary. So we're going to play that for you as well.
Greetings. A few weeks ago, I gave a commentary in anticipation of the upcoming budget speech. I want to follow up on that today and to let you know that this will either be our last or second last commentary for the year. It's time for the Carnival and Christmas activities to fill the air, and God spare life, I shall return in early January. The annual budget provides us with a picture of the last year and with a blueprint for the year to come. A key document in the process is the report of the Director of Audit. We are preparing the budget speech now for 2025. In the budget speech, the minister will speak about happenings in this year and forecast for next year. But in the report of the Director of Audit, we get a clinical outline of the government's performance in the year 2023. And so when next year comes, this time around, it'll be the same. The budget will reflect on 2025 and forecast for 2026, and the report of the Director of Audit will give an account of what happened in 2024. That's how it works. But the point is, the report of the Director of Audit is an extremely important document. And I recommend that you get copies and you read. Now, sometimes administrations can obtain appropriation warrants to get more money than what they had budgeted for. For example, the budget for the year 2022 was to spend $952 million. But it turns out that that was not enough for the Harris administration. So they went and got themselves, through appropriation warrants, an additional $432 million. Now, $432 million as a percentage of $952 million is nearly 40% increase. And to make a 40% appropriation on top of what you've budgeted for a year suggests that either something disastrous, calamitous, massive, that had not been prepared for has struck, or it might suggest poor governance. As far as I recall, there was no such incident in 2022. What there was an election. I can see an appropriation for 10 to 15% above budget, but near to 40% is very, very troubling. And those who caused that to happen must be called to account by you, because it is your money that was used. And if that is not a lack of simple foresight, basic management, if that is not a sign of recklessness and irresponsibility of the worst order, and with your money, no less, then if you do not have cause for grave concern about that and about those who made that happen, then I don't know what's going to become of you and the rest of us. And to confirm their absolute unfitness to govern the financial and other affairs of the country, in spite of the 952 and the 432 million, in spite of receiving $669 million from the CBI alone in 2022, the Harris administration nevertheless ran up a deficit of $107 million. How could that have happened? What was the money spent on? What do you have to show for it? What kind of governance is that? Remember, 2022 was an election year. Did they spend your money like drunken sailor men? And at the same time that Dr. Harris was preparing his 2022 budget in late 2021, he and his colleagues were approving the Galaxy Jail project. And in the process of doing so, he signed away the government's rights to escrow and the people's rights, your rights, to a fair and proper share of the earnings of that project. The projected revenue for 2022 should have been at least $3.5 billion instead of $1 billion, as stated before. And the revenue from CBI alone should have been about $2.5 billion, not $669 million. So with all of that, there should never have been any need to appropriate an additional $432 million to fund government operations. That needs an explanation. And if this is not a fiscal and governance nightmare, then please tell me what is. That was like putting Stevie Wonder to guard the bank for you. But the nightmare was not restricted to the government's central accounting. Under the Harris regime, SCASPA's debt skyrocketed to over $100 million. The Development Bank's debt skyrocketed to $335 million. $135 million of which is to the Social Security Board. You know whose money is in the Social Security Fund? Your money. Did I get your permission to borrow $135 million from Social Security? Did you know anything about that? Other than being told by people like myself and others? And he allowed the NHC debt to climb up to $12 million. Leaders are human, and they're expected to make mistakes. But these acts were reckless, irresponsible, and political self-serving, and in the extreme, unforgivable, and rendering Dr. Harris and those around him eternally unfit to hold public office or to take responsibility for the public purse. He did damage to you that with luck will take generations to repair. And with these facts established, it is not fair to judge the Drew administration without fully understanding the financial and fiscal problems which Dr. Drew inherited just 2 years ago. Some of you seem to have forgotten that the Development Bank almost crashed and would have crashed had the government not changed. Some of you seem to have forgotten or taking it lightly that the Galaxy Jail project plunged the CBI almost into extinction, with receipts free-falling from nearly $670 million in 2022 to possibly under $250 million in 2024. All because of the underselling of the Galaxy Jail project, authorized and encouraged by the Harris administration. And think of the near fatal reputational damage done to our country as a result. And considering this loss of hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, looking at it from what happened in 1 year alone, 2022, plus the loss from the bad jail project, which is costing you over $2 billion. All of this must affect what the present administration do, what kind of money they have or do not have to carry out projects that are necessary. Think of what all of that money could have done for the economy and for you, had it been available to the Drew administration. Now, I'm not holding any brief for the Drew administration, but the facts are the facts. However, he is at the steering wheel, and he has a lot of work to do. He is responsible. He needs to recover, potentially, and he can, a total of about $2 billion from these law-breaking jail applicants. And he needs to get rid of the poor performers, the lightweights, the underminers and news carriers, and some of the advisors and envoys from the positions that they hold. They are a bad investment, and they are hurting you economically and hurting him politically. But does he have the courage of conviction to, as the song says, get rid of them? Great leaders are willing to face political fallout in order to achieve great things. Having said that, and despite the fact that Harris caused this disastrous drop in revenue from the CBI, Dr. Drew has been able to do some very good things for the people. For example, he raised the minimum wage. He made auxiliary workers pensionable. He introduced a salary increase for public servants. He introduced a program whereby seriously ill children in need of medical attention that's not locally available and beyond their financial means would be assisted by the government to go overseas and get that medical attention using public money. He introduced the Aspire program. He saved the development bank. Yes, he did. He helped to shore up Social Security, which was being bled. He provided significant additional medical equipment and specialists to the health sector. He lowered student loan rates and a number of other things. And when some of you try to dismiss these things or say that the hospital and the Bastia High School have not been completed, I ask you, do you think it might have been different if all of that money of yours that the former administration, by the terrible leadership, caused you to miss out on, if all of that money had been available, do you think these questions would have been asked about hospital and Bastia High School and other things? Whose fault is it that the money did not reach you? That said, I have to hold the leader, Dr. Drew, accountable to collect from the law-breaking jail project applicants and to take appropriate action against Galaxy and every other person who wrongfully benefited from that notorious project, referred to by an official as a good scam. Now, some of you argue that raising the minimum wage was neutralized by price increases, and that is true. But most of you want to wait for the government to act and agitate for you against higher prices, and so on. But I don't see any of you protesting outside some of these business places or encouraging others to boycott. Why do we like to leave everything to the government? Why do we like to get everything we want from the government? And what do we put in? It's not fair if you want to get something out and you're not putting anything or enough in, you know. Having said all of that, Dr. Drew needs to impose strict price control, and not only on basic food items, but also on other necessities. And there's a particular problem in our food sector because it is essentially dominated by a single player. And that does not bode well for a free and fair market. This is a major problem in our commercial and economic space, and it needs to be remedied. Monopolies and free markets do not live well together, and monopolies hurt the consumers and choke out small aspiring business people. That has to be addressed. I believe also that tariffs and the method of calculating VAT have to be revisited in order to bring further relief and more spending power to consumers. And some of you argue that the 8% increase to public servants is not fair because parliamentarians voted themselves a 30% increase in their own pay. That is not a correct and fair response. Public servants have been getting regular increases over the years, while the last previous increase given to parliamentarians was in 2005, 19 years ago. And if you calculate the increases for the public servants on the one hand and for the parliamentarians on the other, between 2005 and now, you will see that there's virtually no difference. It is just that parliamentarians got 2 increases in 19 years, while the rest of the public service got about 7, if I recall correctly. So we need to stop playing politics with all of this stuff. We need to stop trying to fool off people with it. Politicians in the opposition who are trying to rile up people on matters like this, for which they themselves have no solution, need to stop the cheap politics, because illusion, delusion, and deception by politicians lead to their own downfall ultimately. And speaking of politics, the opposition has been saying time and again that things are hard, and things are hard. But at the same time, they are demanding a double salary for public servants this month. How irresponsible and reckless and dishonest can that be? Now, the government handouts that had been started under Douglas and the social safety nets are important. But they must be kept to a minimum in terms of dollars spent, in terms of time for people to be involved in these incubator programs, and in terms of the number of people involved. You're talking about thousands of people in this microeconomy. We are encouraging and perpetuating poverty and dependency, not enterprise and independent-mindedness that cannot bode well for the future. And the budget address needs to concentrate on these very fundamental things if we are to achieve anything and to achieve sustainable development going forward for the next 50 years. Douglas started the PEP program, I don't remember what the name was, yes, in 2009. Dr. Harris continued it. He added PAP and Peace, and in one form or with one name or the other. These programs continue today. There are people who have been in these programs for the last 15 years. In this whatever you want to call it. Programs which should be short-term or at worst medium-term have become permanent programs for those who are put on it. Bleeding government's revenue, that's your money, and adding little to productivity. We are not getting the return on investment. Too much burden and too little benefit for the nation. How can that be sustained? And how can it not be a prime, if not the prime, issue in fiscal, financial, and economic planning for the country? In other words, in the budget. All of this was inherited by the Drew administration. Dr. Drew inherited a culture of irresponsibility, entitlement, dependency, underproductivity, disrespect, lawlessness, and brutishness. Have you noticed how many of us don't want to work, or don't want to work hard, or to persevere, but we want to get paid as if we are neurosurgeons because the money is there. We want to reap where we have not sown. How could that be right for the rest of us who are sowing and somebody else who is not sowing getting a significant portion of the reaping? Yes, some people will always need help, but not 3,000 and 4,000, not in a country like this. Have you noticed the growing physical and social squalor? The lack of civic consciousness and patriotism? The evaporation of values? Have you noticed how many of us have $4,000 phones? Even school children. We are always on the phones. And how much nonsense we communicate to each other on the phones. and how increasingly ignorant we are of the things that really matter and of the things that we need to know. Despite the easy access to so much information, despite the frequent use of the channels of communication, ignorance grows. How could a country that is becoming more ignorant, and is said respectfully, ignorant means a lack of knowledge, how could a country that is becoming more ignorant also become more prosperous? Have you noticed how many of us love to jump up and fet in the rain, but are not willing to buy an umbrella to go to work or to walk through a brief drizzle? All of these things are symptoms of our country's major problem, a problem that started in the 80s and rages today like a stage 4 or 5 cancer. And Dr. Drew is now faced with the task, the unforgivable and potentially unpopular task of fixing this problem. If he doesn't, we are doomed. Here is my point. The effort to remedy this problem needs to be reflected in the content and intent of the budget. I've advocated for cutting down the number of work permits, but employers keep complaining about the work ethic of our people. Every day, home and business owners complain about the approach and the attitude of local workmen and workwomen. Bad attitude. Bad attitude can't create good country. All of these things and the strategy to deal with them have to be reflected in the budget. The budget needs to show us in its narrative and intent that our leaders understand these fundamental challenges, are committed to the sustainable and long-term development of our people, are well aware of the fact that it is not possible to attain sustainable and long-term development and true and social economic independence with the present attitude and mindset of our people and our politics. The budget must show that our leaders have the understanding and the courage to address these issues, these most fundamental issues, face on. Otherwise, we're wasting our time. Now is no time for personal, political self-preservation. Now is the time to stop the political pandering and the culture of mediocrity, because that leads us to a destiny of inevitable collective failure. It is time to change the country, and change requires strong, visionary leaders of character and reasonable willing followers. So, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Minister of Finance, let us hear the budget address. Let us hope that members engage altruistically and responsibly in debating the issues, rather than engaging in narrow, dumbing down, silly, self-promoting nonsense. I'm waiting. Thank you.
And that's why, Stefan, I'm hoping that that commentary on the upcoming budget and its implications, as well as our, let's say, gimme handout culture here in St. Kitts, forms the let's say a hotbed of comment, questions, and discussion, which I hope will kick off after the break, after we hear from our sponsors. So let's go take a quick break and come back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
The St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association presents The Sentencing Guidelines, a radio panel discussion featuring presenters Justice Ian Marley, resident judge for St. Kitts Criminal Circuit, and St. Kitts Nevis Director of Public Prosecutions Adlai Smith, with moderator Denise Aline, attorney at law. Join the jurists and WinFM, WinMediaSKN.com on Thursday, December 5 at 10 a.m. You have questions? Email in advance to sknlawweek@gmail.com. Learn all about the sentencing guidelines with the Bar Association on WinFM.
I want this and this. Oh, can I have?
Sure, we have an extra $600 from Flo. You can have everything you want.
Get it all with the gift of a free $600 MasterCard cash card. 2 free smartphones and free installation when you bundle Flo Mobile and Internet. That's the gift of free times 3. Get it all this Christmas at Flo. Bundle in store or online at discoverflo.co today.
Merry Christmas!
And Saturday, December 7th, enjoy 2 days of incredible holiday deals with savings of up to 30% store-wide. From home essentials to building supplies, find everything you need to make this season merry and bright. Hurry in and unwrap the joy. It's happening for 2 days only at TDC Home and Building Depot. TDC Home and Building Depot, where your holiday savings begin. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details. TDC, together we succeed.
So we are back, and we have heard from Dwyer Savannah's commentary. I think that one probably takes the cake. Not probably. It definitely takes the cake. I'm pretty sure that's your longest commentary by far, Dwyer. 25 minutes or so. But something that we all needed to hear with the upcoming budget on the horizon and so on. Mr. McMahon, Ira McMahon, I heard you were away, and I know you were a little under the weather, but it would be nice to hear your thoughts if you were listening. And anyone else who cares to comment, opine, ask questions. I'm obviously not the fount of answers for most of the questions, but at least it would help to start the discussion if I at least hear the rhetorical questions that my listeners have, and of course your comments. So 466-0989 and 662-0989, and of course you also have the option of posting comments on our Facebook page and our YouTube page and also our Twitch page. So I just received a very interesting chronicling of the only assassination of a British prime minister, which serves to illustrate perfectly what happens when you have toxic bureaucracy, I would call it. You have a situation where you have officious people sitting in offices, government offices, or it could be, private offices as well, who, rather than doing the right thing, insist on pointless and illogical protocol, which kind of short circuits what it is that these people are supposed to be doing, helping the citizenry. So I'm going to read this because I find it very interesting, and I have to thank the sender for sending it. The only assassination of a British prime minister happened in 1812. The killer spent 6 years being tortured in Russian prisons, but he wasn't a terrorist or spy. His motive? Something so shocking it's almost unbelievable. Let's start with betrayal. In 1812, Prime Minister Spencer Perceval walked into Parliament like any other day. Minutes later, he lay dead on the floor, shot through the heart. The killer didn't flee. He calmly sat down and said, "I am the person who shot the Prime Minister. My name is John Bellingham." He wasn't a spy or revolutionary. He was a merchant with a grudge over, wait for it, paperwork. Bellingham was a businessman trading with Russia, but in 1804 disaster struck. He was falsely imprisoned in Russia, his travel papers confiscated, and his business destroyed. The British government's response? Not our problem. Bellingham spent 6 brutal years in Russian prisons, tortured regularly. He nearly died from conditions, marched through streets in chains. When he finally escaped to England in 1809, he wanted one thing: compensation. For 3 years, he followed protocol, filed endless petitions, wrote every government office, begged for hearings. Each response? Fill out more forms. Then in April 1812, a civil servant made a fatal mistake. The civil servant told him, "You're free to take whatever measures you think proper." Bellingham took this literally. He bought 2 pistols, had a special coat pocket sewn, and waited in Parliament. At 5:15 p.m., Percival entered. Bellingham stood up, walked directly to him, and fired point blank into his chest. The Prime Minister's last words, "I am murdered." The killer sat down and waited for arrest. The trial stunned England. Bellingham's defense was simple. "I tried every legal channel. The government left me no choice." The shocking part? Many people sympathized with him. A French observer wrote, "You taught ministers they should do justice when asked." But sympathy wouldn't save him. After a one-day trial, Bellingham was hanged. His last words were chilling. "I feel no hate for Mr. Percival, but he led the government that refused me justice." The aftermath changed Britain forever. Government reformed complaint systems. No PM has been assassinated since. New protections for citizens' rights. All those things happened in the wake of this trial. So you see, sometimes the deadliest threats aren't enemies. They're ordinary people pushed too far. The final irony? Parliament later investigated Bellingham's claims. He was right. He was owed compensation. But it was too late for both the merchant and the Prime Minister. He killed over paperwork. This story isn't just about paperwork or bureaucracy. It's about what happens when systems meant to serve people become their prison instead. When following protocol becomes more important than doing what's right. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting read. You've heard people like Koshroy Tweed and many others, call stations and talk about all the things. You've heard Ewan Herbert talk about trying to get his citizenship for his children, which they are owed automatically, and so on. And many of us, we all know that St. Kitts Nevis has a terrible record when it comes to when it comes to ease of doing business. I think we're in the 100 teens or 120s out of 192 countries, which is not good. That's not a good look. Especially for a country that supposedly touts itself as a top tourism destination and a great place to do business. We need to do better, and bureaucrats sitting in offices need to do a better job of doing what their remit expects them to do. You're supposed to help your citizens. You're supposed to smooth. After all, you're the government. You're supposed to smooth the way for their betterment and so on. Adhering rigidly to illogical rules makes no sense. At the end of the day, you're supposed to help them. So, I think a little discretion and compassion and expedition, frankly, is needed in a lot of cases to keep the citizens happy. But I think what happens is a lot of these people, let's be frank, a lot of them are power drunk, power hungry, and they get a high out of being able to twist and turn people simply because they can. So, I thought I would mention that. And there's so many issues we have to discuss. That was just another thing I threw along with the kitchen sink to see what would generate discussion. We have our first caller. Go right ahead.
Hi, Gemstone.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what were you saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting the topic that you're covering today.
Mm-hmm.
I just caught the last bit of it, and I just started listening, and I thought, yeah, I heard you call my name as well, so I said, let me call it because,
yeah,
I don't even know where to begin because this is happening on so many levels and in so many places as well.
Yes.
I've been on the phone today with clients dealing with the Windrush scandal, writing letters to ministers. It is just happening on a grand scale. And I think when you mentioned with my daughter's case and my son, that's actually constitutional. And you would expect that where it's written clearly, the government would adhere to it,
Yeah.
Unlike in Britain, where it's more of an obstacle course because we have here an unwritten constitution, and that's also very apt and interesting that Britain made all its former colonies write down their constitution, while they themselves here in this country don't have a constitution that you can actually point to.
Why is that?
Well, it's mainly case laws. So different cases that have evolved over time and had rulings on them. Some of them actually change from time to time. Some of them are cases from European courts when Britain was part of the EU, and cases would go to the European courts when you don't get satisfaction in this country. And, the Magna Carta, of course, but there's only 3 clauses of that left. The Bill of Rights, 1839 or 69, 1869, I think. So it's not enshrined in a document, but here, when you look at this case I've been mentioning for so long, it's enshrined in a document that's only 41 years old. St. Kitts is only, 40, is it 41? 41 years old, yeah.
83 and, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But let me ask a question. Quick question, because we getting up, we have a minute to news time. Britain is not part of the EU now, but would EU cases still form let's say exemplars for rulings? Can that still happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it can, because even in all Commonwealth jurisdictions in St. Kitts, cases from the UK can apply, cases from Bangladesh, any Commonwealth jurisdiction, because the court systems are part of the Commonwealth systems.
Okay.
So they apply.
No, but I mean the
on the
EU.
hour.
But the EU cases can still apply to, let's say, the jurists in England.
Yes.
Okay. All
Yes,
right.
because Britain is still under the jurisdiction of the European Court.
Oh, okay. Didn't realize that. Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting to
Yeah.
know. Okay. Okay, and you
Catch up on the other side.
Yes, absolutely. All right. We have headlines coming up next. Hoping everyone will come back on the other side. Don't forget, the numbers are 466-0989, 662-0989. We head to the headlines and we'll continue on the other side.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, National Bank, and Carib Brewery.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Now loans, cash at the speed of life, so fast you won't believe it. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, right now, right now. If you need cash in a flash with now, no need to fuss, leave it to us. When you need cash in a flash, no need to fuss, leave it to us. Hear me now. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, so fast you won't believe it. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, right now, right now. Approved in a day, yeah, yeah. Some money on the way, yeah, yeah. Approved in a day, oh, yeah, you know it's coming.
When life throws surprises your way, Now's here to help. Whether it's for an urgent bill payment, home improvements, or unexpected health expenses, or even that last-minute holiday trip, with Now, you get cash in a flash, approved in just 24 hours.
Approved in a day, yeah, yeah. Some money on the way, yeah, yeah. Approved in a day, oh, yeah, you know it's coming. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, so fast you won't believe it. Now loans, cash at the speed of life, right now, right now.
A loan product powered by National Bank.
With the WinFM Midday News, I am Kevon Brown. Our top stories: analyzing debt and tax revenue in Nevis. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister, the Honorable Gaston Brown, takes climate justice fight for vulnerable states to the International Court of Justice. Guyana Trades Union Congress calls out opposition for not keeping government accountable. Internationally, French government faces no confidence vote. Now the details. The proposed budget for the Nevis Island Administration NIA for fiscal year 2025 sets the stage for a comprehensive review of the territory's financial health, particularly regarding debt levels and tax revenue projections. The budget presented by the Honorable Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis, on December 3, 2024 amounts to $273.17 million and focuses on encouraging economic growth and maintaining fiscal responsibility. In a climate of anticipated positive economic activity, the Nevis government hopes to raise approximately $164.7 million in revenue, marking a 6% increase from the previous estimated $154.8 million for the fiscal year 2024. The outlook relies heavily on contributions from the federal government's Citizenship by Investment program, which is projected to contribute at least $66 million to the budget. This will culminate in recurrent revenue projections of $230.7 million and a surplus of $26.9 million against the projected recurrent expenditure. The Honorable Mark Brantley emphasized the improved fiscal position of Nevis as of October 31st, 2024, stating,
Madam President, our fiscal position as of October 31st, 2024 has most certainly improved, and our revenue performance for the fiscal year 2024 thus far has been very favorable.
This statement signifies the government's confidence in its fiscal trajectory, aided by enhanced tax collection mechanisms. The value-added tax VAT collected at $34.81 million as of October 31st, 2024 has increased substantially by $2.45 million or 7.57% compared to the previous year's $32.36 million. Such performance underlines VAT's significance as a revenue source, accounting for 27.28% of total recurrent revenue. While acknowledging the positive trends in VAT collections, Brantley also pointed out the inherent limitations in these figures.
The VAT collections outlined above, even though they are promising, are not a full reflection of the state of economic activity on Nevis.
This statement draws attention to the financial reporting complexities under the current VAT legislation, which allows entities operating in Nevis to file VAT based on receipts collected in St. Kitts. This has led to an estimated substantial revenue loss, prompting the need for legislative amendments to ensure that VAT generated from Nevis operations is accounted for locally. Regarding the public debt landscape, the central government's outstanding debt was recorded at $476.63 million as of October 31st, 2024, a decrease of 1.4% from the previous year's figure. This reduction is attributed to strategic financial management and the absence of new debt obligations.
During this fiscal year, your government has refrained from undertaking any new debt obligations.
However, debt remains a critical concern, particularly with the Nevis Electricity Company requiring a new arrangement with local banks to cover operational costs, which contributes to overall public debt levels. The debt strategy emphasizes the importance of cautious borrowing, which is crucial for ensuring financial sustainability. The Honorable Mark Brantley succinctly articulated this approach, stating,
Debt reduction remains a fundamental pillar of our strategy for ensuring long-term fiscal resilience and financial sustainability.
His remarks illustrated a commitment to upholding financial discipline, which fosters a stable economic environment while navigating the complexities of public debt and tax revenues in Nevis. In regional news, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister, the Honorable Gaston Brown, takes climate justice fight for vulnerable states to the International Court of Justice. ABS TV Antigua has that story.
No participant has disputed that greenhouse gas emissions emanating from human activity are causing and will continue to cause significant harm to the climate system, to populations globally, and to the environment. Nor does any participant dispute the conclusion of the global stocktake that current efforts are insufficient.
Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honorable Gaston Brown, reiterates the concerns of Small Island Developing States, or SIDS, as they seek an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice on the obligations of states in respect of climate change.
The principle of prevention, a cornerstone of international environmental law, demands that states take action to avoid causing significant harm to others. Yet, global emissions continue to rise. As the threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius is being crossed, the very existence of our small island states is threatened by this failure of polluting countries to act.
Crown Counsel within the Attorney General's Chamber, Zachary Phillips, provides a summary of the position of several SIDS on the matter of climate change. Many SIDS, he explains, view international treaties on climate change, such as the Paris Agreement, as purely procedural.
Many high-emitting states attempt to rely on the climate treaties as a shield to escape accountability. Their approach to the Paris Agreement would deprive the most vulnerable of any redress.
Antigua and Barbuda, under the leadership of Prime Minister Brown, continues to agitate for SIDS to be compensated for the impact of climate change. Phillips, in his summary, outlines the official position.
Causal complexity in the context of climate change is no bar to the existence, content, or extent of state responsibility, including a duty to make reparations.
The hearings that began Monday follow a ruling by the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea on the obligation of states to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. The ongoing oral hearings before the International Court of Justice continue for the next 2 weeks. They were initiated under the leadership of Vanuatu, with the co-sponsorship of Antigua and Barbuda and other SIDS. Rakib Aparicio reporting for ABS News.
Guyana Trades Union Congress calls out opposition for not keeping government accountable. Guyana News source reports.
The Guyana Trades Union Congress, the GTUC, wrapped the opposition over what it sees as its failure to effectively hold the government accountable. The General Secretary of the GTUC, Lincoln Lewis, at a press conference this afternoon, said at a time of rising tension, disruption, deprivation, and lawlessness taking place in the country, the opposition seems to be losing ground.
There is need for greater political militancy in this society. The role of the opposition is not only to make promises about what will happen should they enter government, but also to oppose true governance and stand with the people to demand better. These are important in every democratic governance system.
Mr. Lewis said the opposition, under the leadership of current opposition leader Aubrey Norton, must get up and assert itself and provide the society with the required leadership.
We are ceding too much grounds that is resulting in the erosion of the respect for the rule of law, basic rights, and entitlement for the ordinary man. This is a grave disservice to the people.
The opposition leader and the GTUC executive have not had any official talks on national issues, though numbers have been exchanged. Mr. Lewis said the GTUC stands ready to work with those who are prepared to work for the people. The Guyana Trades Union Congress has also taken umbrage to recent statements by Vice President Barra Jagdeo that the government has no intention of involving the opposition in key decision-making. Mr. Lewis said the Vice President must be told clearly that the government will not be allowed to act unconstitutionally, and should he fail to abide by the Constitution, he must be told by actions. He said in a multi-ethnic and multi-party society, good sense must prevail, adding that there is no constitutional provision that prevents the opposition from involvement in key decision-making.
In fact, the Constitution of Guyana, which Jagdeo is in his capacity as Vice President, has sworn to uphold, mandates a system of inclusionary democracy, which is spelled out in Article 13 of the Constitution. All citizens have a right through involvement in the management and decision-making processes of the state that affect their well-being. Guyana is not the Vice President's sole property, nor is this a one-party state, where he presides as Lord and others as his minions.
The GTUC General Secretary also called on President Irfan Ali to stand up as a leader, work with the opposition and others in a society consistent with his constitutional responsibilities, and stop outsourcing the presidency to the vice president. Lewis said in a wealthy nation such as Guyana, the people deserve better.
We now bring you these international reports.
Now, France's government is on the verge of collapse as the parliament there is expected to remove Prime Minister Michel Barnier in a confidence vote just 3 months after he took office. The fresh political turmoil comes after the decision by Mr Barnier to force through an austerity budget without the approval of Parliament. The confidence motion is supported by the majority of MPs from across the political divide. Now, if he loses, Michel Barnier will become the shortest-serving Prime Minister in France's Fifth Republic. Our correspondent Hugh Schofield is in Bordeaux, and I asked him about the Prime Minister Michel Barnier telling French television last night it was possible he still might survive.
He appeared on television last night to give his side of all of this, but there was no concession, there was no indication of any movement, and so look, as things stand, there's no question what's going to happen. He's going to be ousted, notwithstanding the fact that there could be still a change in the course of the day. Until it's voted, it's not voted, and what the optimists, at least in his entourage, are saying is that hang on, let's wait. There could be a phone call between him and Marine Le Pen during the day. He could give on this last issue which Marine Le Pen is demanding of him, which is to do with pensions and the indexation of pensions, linking them with inflation and so on. That was a red line that she had given him. He refused to budge in it, and that's why she's now saying she's going to vote against him at this key vote this afternoon. But if there's some movement today, that could still shift. I have to say, I find it most unlikely. So in all probability, in 12 hours from now, we will once again be without a Prime Minister here.
And what does this mean for President Macron, who called the election in July that led to the situation of political instability?
Well, he's already very discredited. I don't think there's any question about that. He's already a weaker figure. I think the bigger question is what it means for France as a whole, and the question mark that hangs over it now, over its very governability. If for the last 5 months we've had, first of all, no government, and then a government that's been hanging by a thread and is now being toppled by the opposition, who are more strong than the government. And if the situation in Parliament has not changed and can't change for another 6 months because there can't be elections till June, July, then obviously that raises huge issues about the stability of the country, about what's likely to happen in the next few weeks in terms of social movements on the street and so on, possible unrest, raises huge questions about the finances of the country. There's no budget. This is all about the budget. The budget had to be passed by the end of the year. It won't be passed. There'll have to be emergency legislation pushed through by Parliament just to keep the existing budget ticking over so that money can be borrowed on the markets. That money is going to be more expensive to borrow now because the markets will demand an extra chunk because of the doubts over the country's immediate future. So huge questions, I think, about the governability of France at a time of great uncertainty in Europe.
From crisis to celebration in a matter of hours. South Koreans poured onto the streets after the president, Yoon Suk-yeol, backed down, reversing his decision to impose martial law. Yoon had called out the military just hours earlier, accusing the main opposition party of sympathizing with North Korea and anti-state activities. The sweeping restrictions included banning political activities, controlling media, and threatening arrests without warrants. But politicians, including those from the president's own party, fought back, forcing troops to withdraw from around the National Assembly, as Yoon said he would comply with Parliament's decision. Now opposition politicians have introduced a bill calling for the president to be impeached.
They will try martial law again after their first failure. When that time comes, we, the citizens, along with our lawmakers, will step forward and fight to ensure victory.
Opposition politicians have also called for Yoon to be charged with treason.
President Yoon Suk-yeol took the unprecedented step of imposing martial law, he said, to tackle forces that were ranged against him, stopping him from governing. A day on, and with widespread opposition to that ill-fated move, he is now certainly under siege and fighting for his political survival.
This showdown is one of the most severe tests of South Korea's institutions since it transitioned to democracy from military rule decades ago. And for many South Koreans, it stirred memories of previous political crises, often played out with mass demonstrations of people power on the streets. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Seoul.
Global investors have always valued South Korea below other markets. The reasons vary from tensions with the North to the tight structures of its conglomerates. Politics this week gave them cause to deepen that discount. Korean stocks fell and the won plunged to two-year lows on Tuesday after South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol shocked the world by declaring martial law. The impact was short-lived. Parliament overturned the ruling within hours and markets stabilised. But for investors, it was a reminder of the reasons Korean stocks and the currency have underperformed global markets for months. Korea's legendary discount refers to how cheaply stocks in the Kospi 200 index are priced relative to the assets companies hold, known as the price-to-book ratio. A majority of companies listed on the Kospi trade at a price-to-book ratio below 1. In comparison, the MSCI World Index trades at a ratio of 3.5. There are a few reasons for Korea's perpetual discount. One is the risk that comes from long-running tensions between North and South Korea. Another is the nature of its business, dominated by opaque family-run firms that seldom give out generous dividends. The discount deepened this year as investors fretted over how exposed Korea is to China, whose anemic economy now faces fresh US trade tariffs. Foreign money has been leaving Korea's stock market since August, with outflows in 4 months topping $14 billion. While authorities scramble to prop up the won and calm financial markets, investors are still anxious about what comes next for the currency.
Welcome to The Switch. I'm Elena Casas. Scientists overwhelmingly agree we must cut our carbon emissions, but many also argue that we need to extract carbon from the atmosphere in order to preserve a livable planet. Rivers deliver carbon dioxide to the ocean as bicarbonate, but what if we increased how much they can absorb? That's the idea behind Carbon Run, which adds limestone to rivers to increase their alkalinity. And founder Shannon Sterling joins me now. Shannon, hi. To start with then, how do rivers and oceans absorb carbon naturally?
Sure. So we could start with the oceans, and oceans absorb CO2 naturally, like they breathe in and out. And when there's more CO2 in the atmosphere, they have a net drawdown and store in the ocean. And they also release when there's more CO2 in the ocean, releasing upward. Rivers, they absorb CO2 through the land surface, pumps the CO2 that's coming from the plants and weathering into the rivers. And then the rivers transport that CO2 and bicarbonate to the ocean for long-term storage.
On the banks of the West River Pictou in Nova Scotia in eastern Canada, this silo houses a machine that grinds up limestone into a powder that is then released into the river. Limestone is alkaline, and the idea of adding it to rivers dates back to the 1970s to restore water quality after acid rain, when industrial pollution made lakes and rivers toxic. Only later did scientists discover it also helps rivers sequester more carbon.
Part of the reason why we've been able to move so quickly is that in rivers, we know where the water's going. And so it's easy to show in real time the changes that in both the CO2 drawdown and the environmental benefits. So that provides a lot of confidence and ability to verify by independent entities how much carbon dioxide we are removing.
Where then is the financing from this project coming from? Because you're selling carbon offsets, aren't you?
So we recently have received a $25 million offtake pre-purchase agreement as well from an entity called Frontier, which includes blue chip companies such as Meta and Alphabet, Stripe, and Shopify. And that is on the voluntary carbon market. So currently we are selling high quality credits to the voluntary carbon market.
That $25 million aims to pay for the extraction of just over 55,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide, a cost of about $450 a tonne, although Carbon Run aims to eventually reduce that to around 100.
Limestone is, in the industry, has the lowest carbon and environmental footprint, and it's also very common, widely available. So it's a question of geographies. The goal is to produce carbon dioxide removal at a low cost so that it can scale in the markets.
Carbon Run says mining and moving the limestone would produce about 1 tonne of emissions for every 29 tonnes of carbon sequestered, and the technique has already restored some of Canada's devastated rivers.
At the ecosystem scale, there's studies demonstrating salmon populations in Nova Scotia here tripled after 10 years of liming a polluted river.
Why is it crucial now that we invest in carbon extraction schemes?
Carbon dioxide removal is baked into the IPCC forecasts for the future, our ability to meet 1.5 degree targets, or what those warming are. So if we do not have carbon dioxide removal at scale at millions of tons, by 2050, we will have much higher global warming.
How much of that removal target can river liming meet?
So what our models are showing certainly in the millions of tons and then into the billions of tons is what we're predicting. And that could be up to 5 or 10% of the total need per year.
Are you optimistic that we can meet that carbon removal target that you mentioned?
Yeah, I am, and I'm determined for my kids and for our planet.
You were listening to the Midday News on WinFM 98.9. The headlines?
Analyzing debt and tax revenue in Nevis. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister, the Honorable Gaston Brown, takes climate justice fight for vulnerable states to the International Court of Justice. Guyana Trades Union Congress calls out opposition for not keeping government accountable. Internationally, French government faces no confidence vote.
Thank you for listening.
That was the WinFM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, National Bank, and Cariboury.
Why wait for Santa when there's National? This Christmas, St. Kitts Nevis and Gwillan National Bank has just the right loan solution for you. Get up to $100,000 unsecured for all your holiday shopping needs. New furniture or carnival expenses with low interest rates, quick approval, and flexible terms. And that's not all. You can drive into the holidays with National. Whether you're buying a new or pre-owned vehicle, National has a loan for you. Get up to $160,000 with low rates, special discounts, and little to no input. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year with National Bank. Apply online at www.sknanb.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Bastia in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoyed the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
The St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association presents The Sentencing Guidelines, a radio panel discussion featuring presenters Justice Ian Marley, resident judge for St. Kitts Criminal Circuit, and St. Kitts Nevis Director of Public Prosecutions Adlai Smith, with moderator Denise Aline, attorney at law. Join the jurists and Win FM, winmediaskn.com on Thursday, December 5 at 10 a.m. You have questions? Email in advance to sknlawweek@gmail.com. Learn all about the sentencing guidelines with the Bar Association on Win FM.
Well, it's 12:33. We just had the Win FM headlines, and we're now heading to the second half of Voices, brought to you by Hosford's Cricket West Indies. So let's get a word from our sponsors and get into it. Hopefully, I'll get your engagement this afternoon. The numbers are 466-0989, 662-0989, and I would love if you can weigh in with your comments over on the Facebook and the YouTube pages. All right, so I look forward to hearing from you guys. So let's get a word from Hosford's and Cricket West Indies. So yes, there's cricket coming up here in December. You know, usually during Culturama, there's cricket. There's some cricket action as part of the festival's activities. So we're going to be having some international cricket action here for Carnival, for Sugar Mass. So those of you who love cricket, listen up.
Ready to bring fresh color and style into your home? It's the Color and Style Savings Event at Hosford Building and Nevis Centers. Right now, get 25% off all paints and tiles store-wide. Transform any room with vibrant paints or refresh your floors with stunning tiles. And with 25% off, there's no better time to give your space that beautiful upgrade. So head to Hosford's Building and Nevis Centers and make your dream look a reality with 25% off all paints and tiles for a limited time only. Hurry in and paint, tile, and save today at Hosford's. Terms and conditions apply.
St. Kitts and Nevis, one-day cricket action is back! West Indies will face Bangladesh in 3 City United one-day internationals on December 8th, 10th, and 12th at Water Park from 9:30 a.m. sharp. It's all-day entertainment. Visit the box office from December 4th to 12th to get your tickets or go to windiescricket.com. West Indies, home for Christmas!
So here we are back for the second half of Voices. I have a comment here from Brenda. She's talking about the Black Cake Challenge. Explain the Black Cake Challenge, Brenda. I don't understand. So tell me, this is, I think I saw you make a comment on that. I think it was either last week or earlier this week, but explain what the Black Cake Challenge is. Brenda O'Neill is, I think she's a tour operator that visits St. Kitts regularly. Socrates' friend. So she's been posting this. This is the second time she's posted this cryptic comment. Jamster Black Cake Challenge. So hopefully she'll explain. No, I didn't say that. She said I said that I baked better than her. I never said that. No. No, my cooking skills fall apart when I have to cook for people other than my family, because anxiety sets in and then everything ends up coming out substandard. Well, I'm not so bad. I remember one time I had to cook for I invited my brother. He was visiting, and I invited him and his wife for lunch, and I don't think they were very charitable, and they put on a good face. But I think that was probably, at least for me, that was one of my worst cooking performances. I don't think I suffer from the anxiety as much now, but I know I feel like when I know I have to cook for other people, I always end up doing something wrong, Yeah, so it's just one of those things. It's a sort of stage fright thing. It's like you can do all this stuff, and then you have to go up on stage in front of people. All of a sudden, it falls apart because you get nervous and self-conscious and so on. So Brenda says she is gonna be there in a week. I don't actually bake black cake. I leave the cake to my wife, and we have a family member who does that as a business. And trust me, I don't think you can. I think you're gonna lose. You'll lose that fight, Brenda. Trust me. Oh, by the way, her name is Brenda too. Wow, that's interesting. Her name is actually Brenda as well. Yes, Brenda O'Neill. The family member, her name is actually Brenda too, and she bakes for a living. And trust me, you are not going to beat her in a bake-off. It's not going to happen. I'm telling you now. And you Americans, you tend to be very skimpy on the rum when it comes to fruitcake. I don't think you guys can throw down the fruitcake better than any Caribbean person, especially us Kititians and Divisions. I don't think. Brenda says, yes, Brendas are good people. All the Brendas I know are good people. That's for sure. Okay, so we had some breaking news in St. Lucia. I think I'm going to play that for you guys now. I think you guys will be interested in hearing what's of the craziness that's going on in St. Lucia. So let me see if I can get that pulled up here for you guys. Let me see. Apparently, the chief of police, under pressure from, I guess, the citizenry, he was probably forced to resign because some of his officers were found to be involved in drug trafficking in Florida, and he resigned as a result. And some other crazy stuff happened, which you will hear about momentarily. Just let me pull up this clip. This is crazy. Apparently, someone threw the mace. They also somebody threw the mace from the opposition, threw the mace out the window. But let's hear this craziness now. This is from the Bahamas. So let's do this. Okay, iPad, don't fail me now. I'm just trying to get this loaded up. So people are up in arms. Why are you saying this video can't be played? Don't worry, I'm going to have that for you guys. So in the meantime, you guys can call me at 466-0989 and 662-0989. I'm still trying to get this thing to load up. It always gives me trouble. They always give me trouble when you're trying to play something, and they always end up giving you trouble when you really need them. So let's okay.
Oh, he threw the mace out. 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 Woo! He threw the mace out. 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 It over. It over. It over. It over. It over.
So apparently, we're going to be reporting on this on the news, but apparently in the Bahamas, an opposition member threw the mace out of the National Assembly window. I'm going to see if I see anything here on. So this is getting serious. So we're going to see. You're gonna see, and this happened. This didn't happen very long ago, so I don't know how long we're gonna have to wait with some of these other regional news carriers before we see this. But our newsroom, a member of our newsroom has a colleague that lives in the Bahamas, so that's why we got this. So yeah, apparently I was told. I don't know if the two things are related, but apparently the chief of police, he resigned because some of his officers were found to be involved in drug trafficking in Florida, via Florida, and he resigned. So, and then we had the incident. How long ago did this happen, Jermaine? Okay. Yeah. So, okay, we have a call. Caller, go right ahead. First caller for the day.
Okay, we have a call. Caller, go right ahead. First caller for the day.
Caller, could you turn your radio?
Hello?
Could you turn the computer, the radio off,
Hello?
please? Yes, go ahead. Hello, yes, I'm hearing you.
Jamster?
Yes. Yes, I'm hearing.
It seems there's something wrong because I'm not hearing you.
Well, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
And I've been trying to call the local number, but I'm not getting through.
Well, I've been watching
and
the
I'm not
phone.
hearing you, so
Yeah, I've been watching the phone all morning.
It seems as though something has gone wrong with your line.
No wonder I haven't gotten any calls. But I've been watching the phone all morning, and you're the first person to call. So I don't know what's going on. Wow, yeah, he really can't hear me, I guess. So yes, I was saying that you know, we had an interesting incident. A member of the opposition, presumably has thrown the mace. Oh my God, so I'm actually seeing video of that happening. This is insane. Wow. So I just saw some video of that actually happening in the House of Assembly. That's crazy. And I'm assuming this is related to the resignation of the police officer and so on. Wow. That is crazy. Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break and hear from Horsfords and Cricket West Indies.
Found the sound. 98.9.
It's a very merry triple cashback grab and win at Horchford's Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture Home Store. Thousands of dollars in cashback coupons are up for grabs this triple cashback season. That's right. Every higher purchase customer gets triple cashback on every FlexPay purchase and a chance to grab thousands of dollars in free groceries with our triple cashback grab and win promotion. Imagine this. Free groceries for a whole year or a stylish 4-piece living room set.
And that's not all.
Every higher purchase customer gets their shot at winning big. Yes, thousands of dollars in cashback coupons for free groceries are up for grabs. It's all happening now at Horchford's Furniture and Appliances and Ashley Furniture Home Stores. Triple cashback grab and win. Great deals, great prices, and amazing furniture and appliances. And Horchford's, where your holiday dreams come true. See store for details.
St. Kitts and Nevis, one-day cricket action is back! West Indies will face Bangladesh in 3 City United one-day internationals on December 8th, 10th, and 12th at Water Park from 9:30 a.m. sharp. It's all-day entertainment. Visit the box office from December 4th to 12th to get your tickets or go to windiescricket.com. West Indies, home for Christmas!
The St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association presents The Sentencing Guidelines, a radio panel discussion featuring presenters Justice Ian Marley, resident judge for St. Kitts Criminal Circuit, and St. Kitts Nevis Director of Public Prosecutions Adlai Smith, with moderator Denise Aline, attorney at law. Join the jurists and WinFM, WinMediaSKN.com on Thursday, December 5 at 10 a.m. You have questions? Email in advance to sknlawweek@gmail.com. Learn all about the sentencing guidelines with the Bar Association on WinFM.
And we go straight to the phone lines. Here's hoping that, okay. On to the next call. Caller, go ahead. Okay, I don't know what's up with the phones, but callers, please try again. I don't know what's happening with the phones. We didn't receive any calls in the first half. So I just took my third call. The first one, the caller couldn't hear me. And as soon as those calls came in and I tried to engage them, I got a dial tone. So please call again, 0989 and 762. Oh, I did get Ewan. Yes, Ewan did call earlier from the UK. The UK, I mean, the foreign numbers seem to work fine, but we have been able to get any local calls. So let's see what happens. Okay, so whoever it is that was trying to call, please call back. I'm here looking at the phone, so as soon as I see the lights, I'm gonna come over and try and engage you guys. Okay. Okay, Ewan, you can try calling again. I'm here. All eyes looking for the call. Caller, go right ahead.
Hey, Jumpster.
Oh, hey. Yeah, can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting you were talking about the Bahamas incident. It was a video earlier this year where a man was shot through a window in Florida live on Facebook. And he is actually the guy who ratted out all these police officers, I think the chief as well, in the Bahamas, and he had fled to Florida for safety.
Mm-hmm.
And while he was on Facebook Live talking exactly about that, shots came through the window. He got hit in the face. It didn't cause much damage to him, but he had blood all across his face. The shots rang out live on Facebook. Did you see that?
Wow, no, I knew nothing about that. Wow.
Yeah, I think one of the local bloggers in St. Kitts had it up as well. I saw it. It was reported in a lot of the newspapers in Miami.
Oh, so
I think maybe if you Google.
So you're saying that the chief of police is also involved? So it's not a matter of him resigning to maintain. It's not a matter of him.
That's not what I'm saying. That's.
Oh, okay.
Might be suggested.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of, as the term is, snitched on them, and he fled to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems that wasn't safe enough, because while he was on live on Facebook, he got shot through the window.
Wow.
Yes, it is that grim. And that was very, here we go, whistleblower on Bahamas corruption shot live on Facebook, Miami Herald. It comes up in the Miami Herald.
Wow.
It's all there. And the video is there as well. It's absolutely, it's absolutely crazy. So there might be, merit to the case there in that regard, because it takes a lot for somebody to flee one jurisdiction only to get shot in another in the same context.
That's crazy. I'm here looking at, I was sent some video, actual video of the incident, the mace tossing incident.
Yes.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. Well, you had something similar happen in St. Kitts. I think back in the late 80s. I think the mace was missing from the house at one point. You remember that?
Yeah, someone grabbed it. Yeah. I'd heard about that. Yeah. Not going to call any names, but yeah. It happened. So if I call any, but St. Kitts is a weird place, right? Because St. Kitts is the kind of place where 1,000 people will see someone do something, but somehow people are afraid to say the obvious. It's just weird to me, There's this weird decorum and kind of I don't know what it is. It's just weird to me. I mean, like, for example, sometimes things, open secrets, people are afraid to talk about open secrets as though you're going to get sued for telling the truth. It's just insane to me. Like, for example, things happen at businesses and people call and they're afraid to say what business is it. I'm like, really? Everybody knows what business it is. Why are you afraid to say? I mean, shouldn't we be calling them out so that they can do better?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just weird cultural thing. I don't get it. I mean, like, you'll be afraid to. For example, there was a time when you had okay, we only have two phone carriers, and people are afraid to say, "Oh, this." I'm like, well, what's the big deal?
It's Digicel or it's Flow.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird.
It's one or the other.
Yes, a supermarket. I mean, they're afraid to say, "Oh, this particular supermarket, this happened." Why are you afraid to speak to the truth? Don't you want them to get better? Don't you want them to do better? You know? I mean...
Well, maybe it could be for different reasons as well.
No, but sometimes it's not even a reason of, say, sponsorship or whatever. It's just that it's just this weird kind of fake decorum that people do, and you know.
It's a colonial mentality.
Yes,
of
it's
fear.
yeah.
Repercussions.
Yes, I don't get it. So this Bahamas story is developing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, it seems to be a rash of corruption going on up there, because apparently the clip I played earlier, it seems as though the citizenry is up in arms over.
I think it's major, because there was something happening between U.S. law enforcement and Bahamian law enforcement as well. They were called out in the corruption, so the U.S. authorities were looking at them, and I think this witness was trying to get some protection in the United States. Obviously not enough protection, because he got shot at. I don't know what happened after the fact, but I sent you the link of it. There's a video on there as well.
Yeah.
When he got shot and he screamed out live on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at that afterwards. But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of living in interesting times. There's also the whole thing of, I mean, I've been trying to, well, he's been wanting, Dwight Asfan has been wanting to weigh in on the whole BRICS thing and the implications for us, especially with a second Trump term coming up. And, you know, we really need to start thinking about all the bad ways that can go left for us, especially if the Russians and the Chinese and so start tinkering with the world economy in nefarious ways, and how that's going to affect us if Mr. Trump starts hiking tariffs, imposing tariffs as he's threatened to do. You know?
Yeah, he threatened that, I think, last week or something, and then the Canadian Prime Minister jumped and went over to the U.S. to have dinner with him.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, he's going to try and protect his country's interest.
Well, I read a report that said that went well, apparently. He apparently...
Yeah, exactly. That's what's going to happen.
He apparently told him he was able, from what I don't remember what, but it was a reputable news site that said, Axios, I think it was, I read it from, said that they managed to convince Mr. Trump that comparing the northern border to Mexico is not the same, and apparently he was able to make the point. So that's good.
It's not the same, but it's also crazy. I mean, look at the amount of vehicles that are manufactured in Mexico. Like, for instance, you know, the VW, Volkswagen plant, and other companies that have, even Teslas are manufactured in Mexico.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tesla has a gigafactory in
Mexico. I didn't know that.
Well.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know how tariffs will really work well for the U.S., but one notable thing is, in the last week or two, cryptocurrencies have already started rising considerably. Some of them are going through the roof, and that's in response to Trump's re-election. You know, mainly the economy did well under Trump the last time around. So, like the stock markets, the cryptocurrency markets, etc. But there is a whole new dynamic, like you said, the whole Ukraine, Russia, and Israel context to it. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But yes, smaller nations need to be prepared, because nobody's going to pay attention to them when the fighting starts.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Trump could put a lid on it, maybe.
Yeah. I constantly try to tell friends and even the listeners that everything is interconnected, even if it's not obvious at the time. I mean, I used to butt heads with Azad about that, because, you know, he would only want to talk about local stuff a lot of the time. And I said, but I said, yeah, you too. Yeah, that's true. You know, so
well, the American stuff doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's the St. Kitts stuff that affects me, and I'm from
yeah,
there. So
yeah, absolutely. But I still think it's good. It's still good to try and keep insularity at arm's length, right? And see what's going on around us in the world, especially given the fact that all of this stuff really does affect us, even if it might not be obvious.
If America sneezes,
even if it,
America
exactly.
sneezes, the Caribbean basin catches a cold. So
Yeah.
it's bound to affect us.
Yeah. So I mean,
one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, man. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I have to admit, I actually have been not watching news. I've been reading more news and more non-mainstream news. I've been reading Axios, Atlantic, I guess New York Times and others, even CNN. I haven't been watching CNN as much now since that guy won, because I haven't been watching. Yeah, I haven't been. No, serious.
That guy won. Who's that?
You know that guy.
That guy that you talk about every morning on the breakfast.
Yeah,
show,
the walking pile of feces. Who was elected president again? You know, so
he does appear good for business, and that's one of the main reasons why he's reelected. You know, and America is kind of on its knees with its economy. China is, obviously the largest economy. India is fast emerging, so the U.S. is getting left behind.
But I guess two things can be true, because you remember how they had this whole raft of economists who were saying that Trump's economic policies, commerce policies, were going to be bad for the U.S. And you even had markets dipping when he said certain things about certain maybe deleterious things that he intended to do economy-wise. But then, the market recovered shortly after. And just after, I don't know, just after he won, was it that the market dipped a bit, or I think the market surged like a couple of days after.
Surged.
I mean, I don't understand. I mean,
because Trump comes from a business perspective. Most politicians that you find in the U.S., most presidents, don't necessarily come from a business background like Trump does. So he's well connected across the business landscape, right? And that works well for people with deep pockets and the economy on a wider scale. So that's why they invest. Look at how much Elon Musk has invested so much in him, and for the very same reason. Musk has a lot of ambition in terms of what he wants to do, and he sees backing Trump as a gateway to getting it done.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
The thing is, vis-a-vis black people, whiteness is an invulnerability cloak, because you see it every day just by dint of being white. That's all they need to be, and these people get away with anything. They can do anything. I mean, look at all the misfits this guy has lined up to head up some of maybe the most powerful departments of government on the planet. If you really want to think about it, Defense Department, you have people who are just wildly unqualified to do any of that, but they're all. And
Trump is trying to show that qualification doesn't always mean that somebody can effectively do the job. I think that's one of the things he's trying to show.
It also doesn't mean that they can effectively do the job either.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
But I think he's going on the basis of other things, and including his own presidency.
Yeah, I mean, and
in that he was never into politics, right?
Yes. And it's weird, like it's been reported that his main criterion has been how telegenic these people are. I mean,
what?
How telegenic they are, meaning how well they come across on TV. In fact, there are about 10 people who used to work for Fox. That guy Hegseth, the Defense Department candidate, he was a fox. I mean, how do you? I just don't understand it.
Well, again, it goes back to like Trump again. Trump was more famous for that show that he ran for so many years. You're fired. You're fired. What's that show called? He's the boss.
The
and
Apprentice.
Fires people.
The Apprentice, I think.
The Apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one. So again, it's sort of a leadership skill, and just showing that he's in control and he can do the job, or he wasn't doing the job, but he can hire the right people for the job. So again, in this context of running the presidency, he's showing that, or trying to demonstrate that he can hire the right people in the positions that, to carry out those functions.
You and I beg to differ. I think what's going on, he's giving a masterclass in how to hire the wrong people for the job. Actually, this is a masterclass in the wrong people.
Well, it's a wait and see. It's a wait and see, isn't it? I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm just looking at what's happening, and I'm saying, by virtue of what he's doing, let's wait and see, because time will reveal. Right? Oh, and Jump, so you need to sort out your phone lines, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was a power outage or something. I'm actually going to, when I take the next break, I'm going to reach out to the guy who deals with the phone lines and have him reset the system, because no one here is aware of any power outage that happened. Maybe there was one, but it may have happened when we weren't here, maybe last night. So maybe that's what. And
interesting how.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Interesting how the phone lines always used to work when the power was out. Now we've gone to a time where the phone lines don't work.
Thank you.
When the power's out, with all this fiber optic stuff.
Yes, and
analog stuff works fine.
Yeah. And I get people who laugh at me because I have a landline, and I keep telling these people, I said, do you know landlines actually work when everything is? I said they were inherently designed to work even when there was no electricity. People say,
the old analog, analog phone lines.
Yeah.
Right? But the new ones are coming through. Like, for instance, if I want a phone line now, I can't get an analog line anymore in this country. There's ports on the back of my router, my internet router, that you can plug the phone into.
Oh, really?
So if there's no power, because it's all fiber optic. So if there's no power to run the router, then it's offline. And I can remember a time when, I think it was Hurricane George, and there was no power, and I had a little radio, and I was able to use the phone line to power the radio, because it used a 9-volt battery. I didn't have any battery. I used the phone line to power the radio, because the phone line was still working.
And those are emergency provisions, regulations that were, I guess, put in place for emergencies in the UK?
Which one? No. So there is a problem, because there is a problem here because of what I just mentioned. Because so elderly people, there's been instances where elderly people have died because their medical device that would normally work on the phone line, or other means of them contacting emergency services if they're in problem, they don't have that anymore with the new system, because it relies on. So if the power goes out, you can't make a call unless you have a mobile, and if the power affects the mobile network as well, then you have no way of communicating. Okay. But the medical devices usually work through the phone line. So if the phone line goes down, then there's a problem.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Another thing which is kind of related, is I never understood. The Americans are big on emergency safety and so on. I never understood why. Take for example, the Chinese Android phones. They all have radio tuners built in, where all you have to do is download a radio app, where the phone, you can actually use the phone like a radio without having to go online.
I remember, yeah. Well,
yes. And
all mobiles used to be able to do that.
Yes, and all of a sudden they've taken it away, which doesn't make sense to me. And Apple doesn't do it. The Google, the premium Google Pixel phone doesn't have that. It's only on the cheap Chinese Android phones. And I've I've thought about it. I said, but I mean, they're so big on safety. I mean, if you had like a widespread disaster in the U.S., you should be able. You should have been able to. You're walking around with, you could say, phones are like the poster boys for ubiquity when you think about it, right? Your cell phone.
Yeah.
You should be able to fire up a tuner on your phone and listen to a radio station if the internet goes down, or maybe you're in a part, maybe you're in the wilderness or something where there's no cell phone coverage.
Well, shall I remind you of just a few months ago when your radio station was internet only?
Yeah.
And the transmitters weren't working. And we were in hurricane season. So I think that amounts to the same thing. Because if a hurricane came and the internet goes down, then there's no way of really communicating with anybody in terms of radio broadcast.
Yes.
Because those transmitters were down.
Yes. Yeah, so we kind of have we have the reverse problem, I guess. Especially in St. Kitts where, it's not very flat. So you are going to have the obvious, in the case of, those kinds of emergencies, you're going to have the obvious problem where maybe transmitter sites might go out as well as the internet.
And that's, exactly. And that's something disaster management needs to mitigate. They need to look at that and mitigate it, because people need information in the event all the digital systems are down. We need at least some way of going back and dusting off that old radio and
exactly.
being able to find out what's going on.
And instead you have regulators going after Apple for nonsense like you should be using USB-C ports rather than Lightning ports, and you need to break up the company.
Well, they should.
And I'm not saying no. I'm just saying, I mean, they're sort of getting their priorities wrong. I would like to think that the priority in that context would be, shouldn't I be able to use my $1,200, my $1,000, $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 phone as a tuner?
15 Max Pro.
Yes, as a tuner. In the case of me being, in the case of an internet going down, the cell phone sites going down, me maybe being in an area where there's no cell phone signal. Instead, what Apple is doing actually is they're putting in satellite phone. That's crazy to me. Okay.
Yeah, because that's where Elon Musk comes in. Elon Musk already has the Starlink systems deployed globally, and he is now offering phone carriers, so maybe even the local ones in St. Kitts, where their coverage is patchy across the island. You would soon be able to just have a satellite connection to your phone anywhere you are.
Exactly.
Which is better line of sight because it's coming down.
It's coming
rather
down
than,
across
trying to go around a hill or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, buy shares in Starlink when they go public. That's the stock tip for today.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of which, I heard that was it Putin had a call with Elon Musk just after the election where he is reputed to have told Elon Musk not to provide Starlink coverage for the couriers. So I don't know. It may have been a case of that the guy, the ruler of North Korea, probably asking him to reach out to Mr. Musk.
Well,
Well,
Elon Musk has too much power. You saw that even when the Gaza incident, he stopped Starlink connectivity for people in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't stop it for people in Israel, so they were unable to communicate while they were being bombarded.
And surprisingly, he didn't stop it in Ukraine either, which is interesting.
Yeah, and he is he's influencing geopolitics. He's even offered Nigel Farage, who is the leader of the Reform Party here in the UK, 100 million, I think it's pounds or dollars, to become Prime Minister. He's trying to influence and meddle in British politics. And if the Russians were doing it, whether openly or covertly, it'd be a big thing. But nobody is calling it as it is. This is obviously interference.
That is going on, really? He's interfering with.
Yeah, if you Google that, he offered just this week or last week £100 million. He intends to make him the prime minister of this country. And
what does he stand to gain from what in Mr. Farage's platform makes him attractive to Musk?
Well, Farage is aligned with Trump, right? He even went over to the U.S., I think in the first election when Trump got elected, and he went over this time to help him campaign. They're aligned. They're very much aligned. And he wants that same influence here in the United Kingdom so that he can obviously expand his business power and other influence. Musk is really, check him out, what he's doing. He is trying to influence geopolitics on a grand scale. It's not it can't be legal what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be. And he already had, because he has Twitter, and Twitter is highly influential. So he's already been calling for a new election in the United Kingdom. We only had elections in July.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So he's gonna have to wait another 5 years before he can try and put
that's
his.
what I'm saying. They were already trying to influence it. They were already doing a lot. He's using Twitter in a way that he shouldn't be doing. I don't know if you saw that clip that came out from Led by Donkeys of how he actually used Twitter to win the U.S. election.
No, you should send me that because I'm actually.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, I can have to go back and look for it.
I sent it to you when it came out.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago.
It's
very interesting. You should play it on the show. It's very, very interesting.
You know, it's very sad because I'm actually I'm more of a Twitter person than Facebook, right? I'm hardly if I'm on Facebook twice today, trust I've been on Twitter 100 times. I hardly ever use Facebook. Facebook is people here are really into Facebook. I am not so crazy about it actually for whatever reason. I've always preferred Twitter, but I've noticed that engagement. I used to get a lot more engagement with my comments, and since he bought it, for some reason that's gone down. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what he's done.
He's tweaked the algorithm. So
I prefer. Okay, no. I know to some degree that maybe the people I communicate with on Twitter X. I know to some degree there's always gonna be a degree of, let's say, siloing and echo chamberage, so to speak, right? But I've always felt like
that happens.
Facebook versus Twitter, especially where I live, living in St. Kitts, I feel like I think I talk to a much wider cross section of the world on Twitter than I do on Facebook. I'm on Facebook and it's basically just locals and this whole echo chamber, which I really don't like being a part of. I like being a part of a much more varied mix of of commenters and contributors and so on. And
I see what you mean. But the St. Kitts Nevis demographic and the regional demographic is more Facebook.
Yeah, which I'm not really into, to be honest. Which is not, because no one and I commented on a comment that you made, a post you made last week. I don't know, maybe you didn't see it. I think I liked a comment that you I don't remember what it was about, but you probably, I realized you didn't see it because when we spoke earlier, I said, oh, he probably hasn't seen it. Yeah, but
I don't think so.
Yeah. So have you tried out Blue Sky yet?
I'm on Blue Sky, yes.
You're on Blue. Oh, I actually tried to sign up and.
No, I left. I moved over to Blue Sky a few weeks ago because somebody actually hacked my Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Somebody hacked my Twitter, and I wrote to them and I said, this is the situation, I want it back, and they wouldn't give it back to me. So I blasted them and I said, I've had this account for 15, 16 years. and somebody hacked into it, and within minutes they changed the email address where it's been that email for the 16 years, and the person logged in from a location that I have never been to or never logged in. So how can you allow them to keep it? They're saying, you know, what they said. And I just thought, you know what, on Twitter, let me work with Blue Sky. Less nasty people on there, more sensible people on there. So yeah, I'm on Blue Sky.
So you haven't tried Threads?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, okay. I haven't either, but
I think I'm satisfied with Blue Sky.
Blue Sky, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, the CEO was on. Was it CNN or Bill Maher? I'm trying to remember. She was on 2 weeks ago. It might have been CNN. I was watching, and the CEO was on, and she was talking about how much growth they've been getting since Trump won. A lot of people have been leaving Musk's X because of the, some people calling it a cesspool now and whatever. I mean,
a lot of abuse. Musk does nothing about it. In fact, he uses it to his own advantage. So that's where all the horrible people, I shouldn't say all the horrible people, but there's a lot of horrible people on there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of racists, a lot of bigots, a lot of it's a cesspit.
You notice what I thought was cool about Blue Skies. You notice how the new logo kind of mirrors the old Twitter logo, because you realize it was actually started by the guy who started Twitter.
Yes,
oh God, what's his
was.
name? Yeah. So you notice the butterfly. Yeah, you notice the
name,
You notice the butterfly kind of mirrors the bird, the Twitter bird. So it's very interesting how he managed to have.
So you can't call it Twitter no more. It's X.
X, yeah. But you were saying Twitter too. We're both guilty.
Do not say X. I'm just messing with you.
I know.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So I'm wondering when he is going to turn it into this, you could say, Swiss Army knife app that he's always said he wants to turn it into. I mean, Mr. Musk, because he's talked about in the past about how apps in China, like what's it, Baidu, I think, which you can do everything on. You can do it's all DoorDash, PayPal, everything. Yeah. So he's always said, which is why he chose the name X. He's always said he's wanted to.
Nah, he's lying. He chose X because it goes with all the other brands that he has.
SpaceX,
SpaceX, etc. He's, your listeners are probably thinking, why are they talking about X and Twitter and Blue Sky and all this stuff? Why are they not talking about double salary?
Well, I mean, I was gonna ask you to weigh in on that. So, what's your take? You think? Well, I mean, you have an opinion. You're a critician. You can voice your opinion. You realize the budget is actually a lot later this year. It seems to me it usually started around the 10th, 11th, 12th around. It's the 16th this year. So I don't know if they're gonna go for a week, because if they go for a week, then that means it's gonna be like 16.
Well, you bring it closer to Christmas, people start waking up. They quickly forget their drink, they're drunk, all of that. But
you are so cynical.
With regards to the double salary, I think if possible, he should pay it, and it should be possible. Then you guys just go for some loans.
Go for some loans and
some new loans.
Yeah, and join all the troops, get a loan, and go buy up all the costumes.
No,
right?
not that. I'm
being sarcastic, of course. I'm being sarcastic.
I'm talking about the loans that your prime minister took. Yeah, I mean, not paying double salary is perhaps going to make him a one-term prime minister. I don't know, but.
Well, I don't know about
maybe
that.
He just
I mean,
until the last moment when everybody think it's not going to happen, then he just.
Isn't this what, year 3, 22? It's year 2, right? The end of year 2 or the end of 2022?
Yes. End of year 2.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I mean, you could argue that he might say, well, I'll sit that one out this year, and then maybe I'll pay double salary the year before the election, or something, or maybe even next year.
Or just give people a bonus.
A bonus, exactly. Exactly, which to me makes more sense, which to me is more responsible fiscally anyway. I've always said.
That's my opinion too, because one of the things I don't do, because I always grew up watching my parents do this, is, you do the whole Christmas thing and then January nobody has any money. So I always make sure that there's money for January, because it's not good fiscal prudence to start the year broke, and to spend the whole year paying off for Christmas only to do it again is sort of, it's madness.
Yeah, I agree.
Doing it over and over. So
maybe
he'll go for a bonus in January. Who knows? But he'll have to announce it soon, though.
But then the other thing I've always felt needed to be done, and this was something that Mr. Harris spoke about when they were in government for those 7 years, was tying bonuses to productivity and performance.
Performance, yeah.
Which to me is something that should have been done a long time ago. But
it's helpful.
Yeah, because I think these politicians have calcified the culture into this. Calcified the political culture into this trend, a tradition where they're so afraid. It's funny that they look down on the electorate, but they're terrified of them at the same time. How is that possible? Because here's what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, you're afraid to do the things that will make the government work more efficiently. Right? Which would mean that if you were working at TDC or any one of these big companies, you would have to perform or you would be out the door. Yet, they're afraid to do that with government workers. Because we all know the government is just one big jobs program to some degree, right?
Yeah.
Because,
it could be because of the structures of how the departments are set up and how people are appointed, in those departments as well.
Exactly. I mean,
because that is the thing.
People just go to ministers and say, oh, I need a job. I voted for you, I need a job. Okay, go and tell so-and-so to give you a job. And then maybe they call the treasury or establishment and say, okay, I'm sending this person is going to go for a job. I mean, and then you are in a kind of weird terror of these people rising up against you. So they go to work and maybe they really don't live up to the productivity standards that should pertain to any kind of organization dedicated to productivity in whatever it is their remit is, right? And you do nothing, you pay double salary. They don't even give bonuses, you get double salary, and that's across the board. And they wouldn't dare. I mean, I heard Mr. Harris spoke about it. Oh, we really should have salaries and bonuses tied to productivity. Nothing came of that,
Well, I think the double salary even needs to be reformed because, it's obviously a policy now, right?
We shouldn't even be talking about double salary. It's just irresponsible, but okay.
Yeah, because I mean, for instance, if you look at cabinet members, do they need a double salary? I mean, think about what their double salary would be
It should be a sort of
increase.
Yes, it shouldn't be across the board. I mean, if you're already making $10,000 a month, why do you need a double salary?
Exactly my sentiments, yes.
If you work for maybe $2,000, you can have the conversation. But is this person living up to the standards that the government supposedly has for the work these people do? Clearly not.
I mean, also Also from an economic standpoint, their hopes are that the money helps to stimulate the economy as well. So I think there is that aspect. It's interesting too, because when the Prime Minister had announced dividends, I didn't think it was a great idea, because I thought that money would likely end up on Temu or Amazon and it go outside the economy, whereas if that money in lump sum were put to other projects like the house building project and doing other things that the country needs on a broader scale, it would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Rather than on an individual basis, people are just, most people are going to squander it. Some people will pay their bills.
Yeah.
So I think, greater fiscal prudence needs to be had. But it looks like we're out of time.
Yes, we are. I was just about to tell you the same.
We'll pick this up another time.
Yeah, and so it's going to be, everybody's going to be waiting with bait. I won't be waiting with bated breath about the double salary necessarily. I just want to hear, I just want to hear the tone, the debate, and the exposition is going to take in terms of what they're going to tell us, how granular they're going to be in terms of, and detailed they're going to be in terms of telling us how the money was spent and how the money will be spent in the coming year and all of that stuff. So we'll see.
I don't think this Prime Minister wants to be the one that goes down for not paying it. So we'll see. He have to come up with something.
Okay, interesting. Okay, Ewan. Well, thanks for
you have a good one.
thanks for coming in the clutch, because I'm gonna have to try and find out what's going on with these phones and get that rectified. Okay.
All right.
All right. Great. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay, folks. So that's gonna do it for today's Voices. And don't forget the Bar Association panel discussion tomorrow, 10 o'clock. And if you have questions, you have the opportunity to have the questions advanced to the jurists beforehand. So you can send the email to sknlawweek@gmail.com. So that's sknlawweek@gmail.com. So that's tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And of course, at some point, they'll read the comments and the questions. So that's going to do it for today's edition of Voices. And we want to thank Hosfords and Cricket West Indies for coming on board to sponsor the second half of Voices. So have a great one.
Fat days are just around the corner this December. But why wait? Come now to Hosfords. Get pre-approved credit today for the biggest fat days on December 13th and 21st. That's right. Visit Hosfords Building